Hi. Is it time to start? And does everyone see my screen?
No, not yet.
Should see a shared vision of Perl. Let's see. Hang on. I should be sharing the screen. Sorry. How's that?
Now see your screen, Andrew.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We're on YouTube Live, and you can start. It's time to, yeah, you can go.
Okay, here I go. So, hello. Thanks for coming to this second talk in an hour, and that is a shared vision of Perl. So where do I start? So this is a talk about Perl. It's not a talk about Raku, okay? And you're going to see why as we go through this. But basically, in summary, old language challenges, okay? So next slide. So this is me, Andrew Solomon, and in the context of this talk, I am the CRC commissioned by the Perl Foundation. In case you're wondering what that means, I'm the community research consultant, which is, I take full credit for that term as well. I just had to make it up when I was writing this talk. This came about because I'm regarded as the survey person now that I've been doing the survey on how we should help beginners. And so, so when Stuart said that we need to do some serious research into the vision of Perl by the Perl community, I was chosen. But not just me, okay? This group of people have been working closely together, giving me direction on how to run this survey and how to interpret the results. And the other point is that this is work in progress. I'm just telling you where things are at after a couple of weeks, but we have a long way to go. So with that in context, the objective of this project is to identify the shared values of the Perl community and their vision of the Perl ecosystem in years to come. And from there, we get to the point where the Perl Foundation, community groups and individuals can make informed decisions and plans. So why do we have to do this? If you asked me what Perl was for 20 years ago, can anyone guess what I would have said? Hands up. Someone have a guess at what I would have said 20 years ago. Can anyone volunteer an idea?
Web stuff.
Yay, thank you, Paul. And if I'd asked the same question 28 years ago, any ideas?
System integration.
Sorry?
Database integration.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. But I mean, I would probably have been impressed that you knew about it then. So it came about for that kind of data munging, and then the web and took off, and that was, I mean, we couldn't have got off the ground without Perl. But now there's a whole lot else out there for writing web applications, and it's not at all clear what Perl is for. So I'm going to tell you in this talk, first of all, I'm going to put it in context, because in truth, a year ago, I didn't know what TPF was. I mean, I heard the term, but I didn't actually know what they are. And now we're going to dig into why we're doing this research, and tell you how we've gone about it, and then where's it going. So first thing, what is the TPF? So for the many communities, whether that be Perl or Raku, TPF is there to manage the finances. They have a legal team. They do community affairs, conflict resolution, that kind of thing. They have a marketing team, and they have one person, Nick Evans, who actually does all the work. And that's the only person who's actually got a job with them. So it's very much the community investing their time in trying to get Perl moving in the right direction. That said, you mustn't confuse it with the Perl Steering Council. And these are the people who steer technical decisions about Perl, its features, what goes in the next release, that kind of stuff. So with that terminology, what do I mean when I talk about the Perl ecosystem and Perl communities? Not Perl community, but Perl communities. So on the one hand, there's, okay, it's people who read and write Perl. It's also the companies who are dependent on Perl and the companies that teach Perl and organizations of that type. And those who sponsor Perl, who aren't necessarily the ones who are using it. There are definitely companies who see value in keeping the Perl ecosystem going, even though they're not directly using it. And then there are people, communities who talk and write about Perl, whether that's Perl groups in various locations or people online. And then there are obviously the people who develop and maintain Perl, its modules and its infrastructure and websites and so on. I'm sure I haven't covered half of it, but I'm just telling you that to give you a broad sense of who we're talking about when I say Perl community. So why are they, the TPF in this case, doing this research? There's a problem, right? As I said, there are different ways of making a website nowadays. So we have a lot of things that have been spawned from Perl over the years. It's very diverse. Lots of different communities, lots of different applications. And we each, I think I can speak for all of us, we have very little awareness of the whole Perl ecosystem. And in particular, the Perl Foundation also doesn't have huge awareness of all the different places where Perl fits in. So with this lack of awareness, how can the Perl Foundation make sensible decisions for marketing, budget allocation, that kind of stuff? So this is why they need this research to be done. Next question, how are they doing this research? And this is the fun bit, and it's been active for the last couple of weeks and inactive as of a few days ago. You're doing a survey. And this is a hard survey because we don't know who the communities are. We don't know how they're using Perl. We don't even know necessarily all the job titles of the people that we're talking to. So we had to ask some very open-ended questions in the hope that they would start telling us what questions we should be asking. So this is the first step of the research. And we used Gobby, which is the brainchild of Gary Beckwith. It's a fantastic way of putting across a survey where you don't really know what the options are. And you ask them to, the people filling in the survey, to express their ideas around these questions. And then other people can vote for these ideas or build on them. And it's a really great way of getting the communities to come up with concepts which we didn't have at the outset. So here are the very abstract questions that you're asking. You're saying, what's your connection with Perl and its ecosystem? What do you see as the Perl ecosystem's core values and initiatives? What are your future aspirations for Perl? what do you perceive are the main challenges of unifying the Perl community, culture, and governance with a shared vision? As an individual, how might you support Perl in the future? How could Perl community groups contribute to our long-term goals? And how can the Perl Foundation help the community achieve their long-term goals? So these are all very open-ended questions. And as I was telling you how the survey works, we don't pay too much attention to the numbers of people voting for each other's questions, because it could be that a really profound answer came up just before we closed it down, and then they got one vote. So we aren't paying too much attention to the numbers, and we don't take any of the answers that people present as being precise. For example, someone said, when asked, what's your connection with the Perl ecosystem? They said, approximately 20 years of usage and some CPAN modules, and then they put down their CPAN name, and 104 people voted for that response, indicating that they all had the same CPAN name. I'm not sure. So we aren't taking these responses as being very accurate. They help. So what have we found out? So going from the sort of top level and very clear responses down to the kind of open-ended ones, one thing which seemed to get a great deal of buy-in was that we love regular expressions and Tim Toady. Tim Toady, for those of you who aren't very immersed in this particular culture, Tim Toady stands for there's more than one way to do it. Okay, so the things which you find as beginners are difficult about Perl are things that people really love, and regular expressions, again, very complex. And I've noticed senior members of the Python community having a distaste for regular expressions, but Perl developers love regular expressions. Okay, this is very technical stuff, but you can't untangle the technical from the abstract mission of the Perl communities. So that's something they love. They want communication and collaboration between communities, and they respect diversity and inclusivity. And these were all very, very much mentioned in different ways. So that's just my summary of what they were saying. Then their aspirations. And this is where it gets fun. For the technical aspirations, the following three aspirations had more or less the same amount of support. One is absolute backward compatibility. Another is moderate backward compatibility. And the third was scrap backward compatibility and have new features. Okay, so this is something where as a whole community, we're never going to agree. Okay, so I feel really sorry for the people who have to make these decisions to sort of step very, very carefully through this. But it's to be expected. Another thing is that people aspire to having more features and modules and things which plug into other systems. I think that that's something that we're falling behind on, that large service providers with an API don't necessarily help put together a Perl SDK for that, whereas they do for things like Node.js and Python. The other thing which people aspire to is a change to management. They want us to improve our public image, to have clearer branding, a more vibrant community and a focus on Perl's technical strengths and better behavior within our community, and also just clear logos and images. We don't have that. I think if you ask anyone, any group of people, what the Perl logo is, you'll get different answers. So these are the aspirations, and some of them are easier to fix than others. As for challenges, people are feeling isolated because the community is small and appears to be shrinking. I don't know yet that that's true, but certainly it's not the hugest community in the tech sector. There's a lot of conflict and noise, and I think that this is perhaps out of proportion. And there's no shared mission statement for the Perl community as a whole. There's no benevolent dictator, and I guess that's part of where the conflict comes from, that that it's not clear who makes decisions, and some newcomers feel unwelcomed. Also, the Tim Toady, there's more than one way to do it, is sometimes verging on sort of aggression within the community, and this way is the best way, your way doesn't make sense. And so there are these cultural problems that we need to improve. Again, features versus backward compatibility, that's something else, I guess, which comes up with in terms of how Perl as a language moves forward. And all these things lead to some challenge for the TPF and the Perl Steering Council to have authority and make decisions. So, ideas. With all these challenges, there are still ideas being put forward. One is the way that these decisions are being made, that we should be governed. One of the ideas is it should be governed in a democratic way or through paid membership. We need to raise our profile and communicate better the way decisions are being made. Need to do more marketing for the wonderful things that we have. We've got lots of great modules like DBIC, Mojo, Dancer, Plaque, etc., but we're not marketing them necessarily as well as we could. We could do with more training, scholarships, learning materials, building trust around community ideals. These are very abstract ideas, but I think that, again, that follows on from having shared visions. Also, building our brands, not just the Perl brand, but also the brands of these sub-communities, whether it be modules or groups of people. And now just things like increasing the funding, increasing the transparency of the Perl Foundation, having more liaison between the Perl Foundation community and industry. I think that that's actually very important, and that will help get support for example, SDKs for various APIs of big services like Amazon. And also the way that the Perl Foundation funds things, I think with this communication, these decisions will be made in a more productive way. So, with all this information, it's far from getting a shared vision, but it's certainly brought up, I think, really important questions to address. So what are we going to do now? I think the next steps, and it's not just me, it's a whole, it needs more people involved. And if you have thoughts on this, I want you to be involved as well. So please get in touch. But the next steps are to crystallize these ideas, propose a shared vision, identify alternative paths to get there. And all this is going to involve more surveys and the like. We will then have to rethink TPF's activities and see how they can be more focused around these desired outcomes now that we know them. And obviously communicate this stuff so that communities can then rethink, you know, how do they fit in, what are their goals, and does it match what the broader community need. And finally, and more tangibly, TPF can then use this information to direct its funding to push things in the right direction, now that they all know what that is. But as I said, this is halfway through the research, or, you know, maybe only 10% of the way through, but it has to be done. So that's where we're at. Are there any questions?
Well, it's not so much a question as a remark. It's not really anything new. I mean, the things that are been pointing out, people have been pointing that out for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. We haven't done, well, basically we haven't made any progress in the last 20 years. So
Why will we?
are we going to make any progress in the next 10 years?
Well, I think that this is this seems to be the first time this has been addressed so directly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first.
I think I can correct you. We've tried to address this many times. We have tried to address this in BOFs, in all the conferences. We have talked about it many times, but we are not changing. So why would we expect to change now?
Should you just give up?
Maybe it's not that much of a problem. Are other languages doing better in this aspect?
Well, our direct competitor is doing extremely well. And I don't see any technical reason why that should be the case. So clearly, there's something to do with the way that we are projecting ourselves to ourselves even, which is getting in the way.
Our direct competitor doesn't use dollar signs, and lots of people are afraid of dollar signs.
Fair enough. That could be it. Could be the dollar sign that you're tripping on. I don't know. I think we could just say, yeah, we're always going to be a small side alley for software development, but I find that's kind of sad, because I really think that we can write really nice code using Perl in a way that we can't with most of the competitors. So you know, I think we're doing the broader developer community a disservice by not selling it to them and showing that they can get a lot from it.
I think people have been trying to do that for almost as long Perl has existed. Apparently, the world is not buying that.
The world is what?
The world is not buying that you can write good code in Perl. Regardless whether that's true or not. But
well, thank you for this thought. I won't say it's not possible. You could be all right, and you won't get anywhere with this, but it's worth a try. Any other thoughts? or advice, help you can offer?
Well, sure.
Can I say something?
Please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one advice, because everyone is trying to find the problems and the solutions, and yeah, I don't know. It's like down negative spiraling kind of thing we're doing. Of course, it would be nice to see like exact answers and graphs and visualizations, because I think a lot of people are, of course, curious, and they want to see like their pet reason for why Perl is not up there, and find it in the visualizations and say, see, I was right all the time, bigger logo, or I mean, there's so many things you can do, but I think people should concentrate rather on having fun with Perl. Just do stuff that you like and have fun. If you are positive and like things and spread that, it's not harder than that. Instead, because now we're kind of liking to be sad, but there's no reason. Just be happy, do cool things, and we've seen lots of people present things that are possible that were never possible before, and explore, and yeah, just have fun. That's my proposition.
Thank you. And I think that there's huge value in us focusing on that, because the more we sort of think only about the things that are going wrong, that's how it is.
This is an announcement that Lightning Talks will be starting in 3 minutes.
Thank you. So we have 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Any other questions?
Let me take 20 seconds to say I'm on the positive side of most of the discussions here, and I think that the work that y'all have done is an important part of a possible solution. So I thank you very much for it.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. We need that kind of encouragement.
I think I'll throw in 10 seconds. I think since we're part of an open source community, by the fact that we actually attend this conference, for example, I think we should have a little bit of a consideration of what that means, being an open source developer and contributor. And one like feature that I think we haven't talked much about that we probably should bring to the front of our mind is that everybody that is part of an open source community in some ways has to show some leadership in the fact that they do things, they influence the community and the businesses that depend upon us by the fact that they either do something or choose not to do so. So maybe we need leadership in some ways, but at the same time, we do have to also show leadership by the actions we do. And inaction is a form of leadership. So keep that in mind. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to close this session. Lightning Talk are about to start. Please join us in the Lightning Talk session. And of course, the discussion can continue online. Thanks, Andrew, for your presentation.